Hello, everybody, and welcome. It's another episode of Let's Talk Broncos. It's the Thursday edition, though. I'm gonna say it every single episode. Some say it's the best episode of Let's Talk Broncos, Frankie, especially in the offseason here, because we're talking NFL draft. It's NFL draft season right now. I know me and you, bro, like just talking to you, we're both in the real midst of this thing right now. We are in the trenches of the NFL draft.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about it?
I'm doing great. Like you said, it's funny, this is the Super Bowl week for everybody else, but it just doesn't matter to me. I don't care who's wins. It's not even happening. So we're completely past it. I'll tune into the game a little bit. I think I'm going over to some families to watch the game, but it's just kind of two red teams going at it, and neither one I really like that much. One I obviously dislike much more than the other. So it's draft season, baby, and we've got our first mock draft coming at you. You were just at the Senior Bowl. Did you have a good time at the Senior Bowl, Joey?
It was sick. I loved the Senior Bowl. It was super fun. I think that now that I've been and it lived up to expectation in my head, that's something that I want to make annual. That's something that I'm gonna annually put on my calendar and be like, I gotta go. I gotta go.
I'm asking you one on the spot question about the Senior Bowl. Yeah, give me your one player who you maybe if you didn't know before, or maybe a guy you knew very little about, who you're like, this is a good player now.
I mean, honestly, I don't have much Toledo film. So the Kenyon Mitchell, is that how you pronounce his name?
Yep.
He was so good. Like, he lit it up. I was shocked watching him. I was like, damn, this guy's back of the first round? I'm not so sure. These one-on-one drills are very favorable to wide receivers, and he really ate that drill up most of the time, working against some of the best wide receivers in the country. So he was a guy that I was like, damn. And then you started learning about the athletics. Like, what is this guy supposed to run in the 40? Are we sure this guy isn't a top 15 player? Or are we sure? I got to double check. He was dominant.
He measured well too. I mean, he's what, 6'6", close to 6'1", He measured in, I think, at 195, which that's plenty good to play on the outside. No, I completely agree. Kenyon Mitchell completely blew me away. I also came, and I mean, you talk about it, the group of receivers they had down there they're so, like, when we talk about the body type and the type of receiver that really thrives in the Mobile environment, there were a lot of those guys. You talk about Pearsall, you talk about even Roman Wilson, you talk about all these guys that are they're really good route runners. They're really efficient at separating one-on-one. He handled a lot of those guys. And I mean, something that just blew me away. I mean, you don't usually get to see a DB's ball skills multiple times over the course of the Mobile practice, but every single day he was making plays on the ball, came away with a couple interceptions, which that's impressive, man, for the environment we're talking about. But that's enough Senior Bowl talk.
Yeah, enough Senior Bowl talk. We'll do more of that. But hey, guys, make sure, if you guys are watching through Twitter right now, make sure you guys are going onto the YouTube. It's more interactive. You guys can talk to us, everything like that. Let's get in the comments real quick. Paul says, hello, Joey and Frankie. What up, Paul? Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. And then Matthew, hello. Do you want to park on Parade Route again, Joey? Looking forward to the discussion. Frankie, I got my car towed. If you guys want to hear about that situation, you guys can go to the last episode of Let's Talk Broncos and hear about that.
Man, I haven't even heard. So okay, I do have one. Did you know right away it was towed? Did you wake up and you were like, this was towed, or did you think your car was stolen for a second, or did you immediately they towed my car?
I'll run through the situation again. I go. So I had watched the day before, and I had seen the parade. I saw it with my own two eyes. The parade happened. I saw it, and I'm like, the next day, I'm going to go get something to eat. I actually went to a brewery. Shout out to the Oyster Brewery, I think it was. It was sick. It was a cool little brewery. I was sitting there drinking a beer, eating some food. Come back, car is gone. They got these little metal fences up. And I'm like, you guys are doing two parades? Like, this is out of control. Go and talk to a cop. Yeah, we just towed it 20 minutes ago. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do. And then I type into my maps with the directions he gave me to the tow place. Parade starts, though, and I can't get across the street. And now I'm sitting there asking the cops, how long does this parade go for? He's like, yeah, another 45 minutes. They do 3 laps.
Oh, my God.
Damn.
They're doing a circuit on your ass.
Yes. Phone's at 20%. What do we do? It was a situation. It was a situation. If you guys want the full one, go to the last Let's Talk Broncos. But Frankie, let's get into the let's get into the mock draft here, dude. So, guys, we are doing a Denver Broncos mock draft. This is Let's Talk Broncos mock draft 1.0. And I'm excited to get into it. I don't think we're going to do any trades for this one. It's just going to be what picks the Broncos have. I'm starting to feel really comfortable with this class. Not all the way comfortable. I always feel skeptical the people that have a take on every single prospect. It's because I don't even know how you have that much time.
Yeah.
But we're gonna give our best shot here. We're gonna give our best shot.
We got 7 picks, and I mean, I've just never been a big mock drafts are already such a they're just like a fantasy football exercise in the first place, just to kind of talk about the players that are there. We don't need to talk about fake trades that probably in theory, trading would be excellent. I think we'll both say it. We both want more picks. So any way that the Broncos can get more picks, they should do that this year. But yeah.
Absolutely. Well, let's get this thing kicked off. Let's look at who was drafted here. Okay, we got Drake May 1 and say Caleb Williams. Crazy. Love it, though. Caleb Williams 2, Marvin Harrison.
Number 1 pick.
Oh, damn. This is crazy. Marvin Harrison Jr. goes 3rd instead of Jaden Daniels. We got a little bit of a roll. Brock Bowers to the Chargers. That's a good pick. Jaden Daniels to the Giants. Cooper DeJean went top 7. I love it. Okay.
He's going a little crazy.
Whoa. All right. Joe Alt falls. Malik Neighbors. Talise Fuaga, Nate Wiggins, and then now we're sitting here. We got Olu on the clock, and it just seems very obvious. So let's talk about some of the prospects though. Here we're podcasting.
Yeah. So what would you, if we were, we'll talk about, I think, the position that is probably the Broncos' biggest need until they have a solution here. It's quarterback, right? Are there any quarterbacks that you would take at 12, or I'd say out of these 3, who is your favorite of these guys to take at 12?
I think my favorite of these 3 is probably J.J. McCarthy. He's younger than these other 2 guys. He comes from a pro-styled offense, the Jim Harbaugh deal down in Michigan. Like I said, 21 years old. And I don't think he's deficient in any one physical aspect. I think, and when I say that, I think he is a really good athlete at quarterback. I really do think that. He's kind of an impossible evaluation for me, just because so much of what I feel about him would come in meetings and stuff like that. Stuff that I'm just not privy to as a at-home scout. But ultimately, I do like him more than Penix and Nix. I just really do. I'm not a big fan of them. I've let that known on this podcast. Not that I'm not a very big fan of them. I'm not a very big fan of them in the first round, though. Is JJ your number 1 out of this?
I don't know if I really have any one of them over the other one too much, but like you said, the reasons you listed are probably the reason I'd take J.J. McCarthy a little bit higher. He's younger than the other 2. He's 21, or he's going to be 20 for his rookie season. I think he's going to be 21 for his rookie season. Has a lot of the athletic tools you look for. He has a lot of mobility, a lot of the escapability in the pocket. Has a good arm, has the ability to throw far hash, has the ability to kind of put balls onto receivers, pause. And he's just kind of a good all-around player, or a good all-around prospect, I think, to groom into the quarterback of the future. Right. So I think of all these guys too, if you were to have the plan of, say, hey, we're going to draft a guy, but we don't want to start him right away, I do think that JJ McCarthy is a decent realm for that. And I mean, like you said, if he's a guy that ends up having an offseason where he's crushing interviews, teams love him. We've heard from Jim Harbaugh, and we see it during the Michigan games, how loved this guy is. He's clearly a guy that the locker room is getting behind. He's always very, energetic and very hyped up on the field. And I mean, like you said too, something I kind of took away, and I've only watched a couple Michigan offense games, and they were for Roman Wilson, honestly. A lot of the, obviously a lot of the stuff, like you said, it's not the easiest evaluation because so much of it he's getting to run out of heavy play action. They're not really putting him in a lot of pure drop back situations where he's showing a lot of quote unquote translatable plays. But I will say, for a lot of the play action stuff he's having to run and a lot of the under center stuff he's having to run, that stuff will translate. Like you said, he is running a lot of pro style stuff. They are running a lot of wide zone, outside zone. They are running a lot of just straight up they're just running a lot of UC 5-step dropbacks and drift and things that you will see on NFL Sundays. His willingness to throw over the middle of the field is an asset. And I mean, we've seen him do a lot of winning. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's easier for me to talk in the idea of him being a top 15 pick or top 12, as we're talking about right here with Denver, than it is for me to talk about the other 2. But yeah, I'd say for what is left on the board, he's probably not.
Can I ask you just real quick, Frankie?
Yeah.
Say the Broncos do draft him in the first round. Are you mad at it?
No.
Or are you – I'm kind of in the camp. I'll let you know. I'm kind of in the camp where it's like if they drafted somebody like him in the first round, it would be like, okay, I guess I have to trust Sean Payton on this one.
I think and this might be just because I've been beaten into submission of so many years of watching quarterbacks. They're just so unenjoyable that it's just kind of like if just get the most exciting possible option I think you can every single year. Keep throwing assets at this position until you actually find a guy that can be your guy to go up against this crazy ass division for the next few years. Because obviously this Band-Aid solution is just not going to work. So, I mean, yeah, if at the end of the day they draft any quarterback in the first round, while I might be a little like, I don't know about that guy that much, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, or whatever the Michael Scott Wayne Gretzky's quote is. So that's what I'm going to say there. I'm not really going to be mad if they take any quarterback in the first round because, like you said, I trust in their coach enough to be able to develop a guy, you know.
And Frankie, it's easier to move off of JJ McCarthy 2 years down the road than it would be Russell Wilson 2 years down the road. Of course, you don't want to burn a first-round pick, but the Broncos burned first-round picks while also giving a guy a massive contract. That's really where you go wrong. I mean, we saw it with the Cardinals, right? They drafted Josh Rosen, ended up, hey, we don't really like this guy. We're going Kyler Murray. Easy to move off of because the guy's just not making much money. It's so much easier. But, yeah, let's move on here. Is there anybody at the wide receiver position?
So we got Brian Thomas, who I think a lot of people are going to fall in love with after his testing because he's probably going to be just one of those guys that has kind of crazy numbers. But no one – Jesus, Lad McConkey is the 31st overall player on PFF's board. I don't know about Lad McConkey.
You don't know. Like Lad?
I don't dislike Lad, but here's my thing. I don't get how I like Lad McConkey, but do I like Lad McConkey like 30 picks higher than like a Ricky Pearsall, who I think is probably a similarly talented route runner and is honestly, I think a pretty similarly talented receiver. And we got to see, I think, more consistent production out of him at Florida.
The production Ricky definitely has, and this is an interesting. We're talking about first rounders, and this is the beautiful thing about this show is that we might just break off into a Lad McConkey.
I'm fine with it.
I love it too. He definitely has the production up on Lad. He is not as explosive as Lad is, though.
What are you talking about?
He just isn't. He is a very nuanced route runner. He's nowhere as high twitch as Lad is. He's not. He's not.
We need to figure out a thing.
He's not.
This is a complete side thought. We need to figure out like a side like little bet thing we can have, just like a bet tracker. Because right now we have Brock Bowers dropping to 12 that you think's gonna happen, and now you think that like Lad McConkey is.
Frankie.
Now you think Lad McConkey is like far more explosive than Ricky Pearsall, and I don't think that. No, he's not. What are we talking about? I think they're pretty similar. I think they're pretty similar.
We will hold this conversation.
I think they're okay. We will get there. We will get there. All right, the offensive tackle class. So Olu, it seems like, and this is kind of my opinion, I think Olu, kind of like some of these other players, has just kind of not gotten to do a lot in recent months, weeks. You know, he didn't get to play in a really high-profile bowl game. He wasn't in the college football playoffs. He wasn't at the Senior Bowl. So I think Olu is kind of having a little bit of a drop-off due to that. But at the same time, there are also a lot of other guys rising. And with the fact that I do think that there is a different OT1 with Joe Alt, I do think that there is maybe a possibility that it ends up falling to 12. I don't know how likely it is. Let's pretend. Actually, let me get rid of receiver. Let's pretend Olu isn't here. Do any of these other
for this draft or
just for this pick? Do any of these other tackles interest you at 12?
Jordan Morgan, not as much. I love Jordan Morgan's film. I don't think he was the best in the Senior Bowl. I thought he was okay. And then the arms freak you out. I really did love the film though from Jordan Morgan. I thought he looked so under control, and I thought his feet looked so good. I thought the knee bend was so good from Jordan Morgan. I liked a lot from him. But ultimately, hey, lower on my list. I'm straight up, Frankie. My favorite offensive lineman here is Troy Fautanu. I don't know about tackle, but he's my favorite offensive lineman here.
Okay.
I know that's a crazy take. I know people are gonna kill me for that. I watch Troy Fautanu and I see a guy, whether it be interior, and I'm gonna try him out exterior. I'm most comfortable that he'll be in the league for like 12 years.
Okay.
Playing at a good level.
So if you were to rank these 4, you've got Fautanu. Let's hear 2.
Okay, yes, but positional value is not included because I'm not sure you can play in tackle.
Let's just rank them who you'd be happiest seeing off the board at 12 for Denver, if you're willing to take any of these.
Okay, so positional value is included in this. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm fuck it. I'm still going Fautanu. I'm going Latham. I'm going Mims, and then I'm going Guyton.
Delicious. I'm probably close, but I think I would go Latham first.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's maybe a world where I go Guyton second, even though I'm not the biggest Guyton guy. But if he tests as crazy as I feel like he's projected to, maybe I end up kind of changing my tune a little bit. And then I'll probably go Mims. I don't remember where I was at, but yeah.
Okay, so you go Fautanu above Mims? Or is he your
Yes. Yeah, Mims scares me. I watched he only has 200, 300 snaps this season. I watched those snaps this day and just like we were talking about before the show, like this guy who has not gotten to play a lot of football. He's played 800 total snaps throughout a 3-year career at Georgia. This is a guy who obviously brings just this massive amount of size. He's another one of those 6'7", 340-pound prospects that can move really well. You get him in the open field, he's going to do some crazy stuff, and that makes him sound like a running back. I'm talking like you get him pulling or you get him on like some screens, you're obviously going to see him do some fun things. But I don't know. I didn't fall in love with Amarius Mims as much as I thought based on some of the hype I've kind of seen on Twitter, where I've seen him kind of hyped up as a possible top 3 tackle, possible top 10, top 15 pick. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think there's still kind of a lot of development needed. And while obviously that's fine for a position like tackle, I'm just not super in love with it. Another guy that's going to be playing on the right side, I think, we haven't seen him play on the left at all in his 3-year career. So I'm a little bit lower on Amarius Mims.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So your pick, do we want to go through the rest of the positions?
Just go to edge. I think that's like kind of the last position.
Okay, let me ask one. Would you take Jackson Powers Johnson at 12?
Not at 12, but speaking of favorite offensive lineman, he'd be like 2.
Okay. You said look at edge? Yeah,
go to edge. Okay, the only guy I feel like, and Frankie and I are both a little lower on Dallas Turner. I'm not a huge Dallas Turner guy. I think
Dallas Turner, I think, is the 4th best edge in this class.
Yeah.
I think I'd put him behind Darius Robinson.
Oh, really?
I know. I've been really thinking about it. Here's the thing, Joey. Here's the thing. And I'll have to look up Darius Robinson's age before I say this completely.
He was a super senior, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh, okay. Well, then that might end up hurting my evaluation a little bit. I might have to retract my statement a little bit. But when we talk about like I've been really if you have the ability to kind of play multiple spots on the defensive line and a lot of different alignments, rushing the passer, you get a boost for me. And that's like Darius Robinson's bread and butter right now. This is a 290-pound player that can play at a 7 tech and do crazy things with his hands and has insane explosiveness where, again, I'm just kind of like, man, it's not crazy to me to think that there's a world where a team says this guy is better than us than the 6'4", 240-pound edge, Yeah. And I guess that's not me trying to limit a guy to purely what he is size-wise. I also like a lot of what Darius Robinson does from a pass rush plan standpoint compared to Dallas Turner. I don't know. That's kind of my hot take I'm sitting on right now. We'll see how it kind of ages as we get to the combine and stuff. But
fair enough. I'm not huge on Dallas Turner, but I do think I put him below both Verse and Latu for me.
Yep.
I think the only one here that I'd really be like, wow, okay, I could see the vision at 12 is Jared Verse.
Yep.
Frankie, when he puts his hands on people, people move.
Mm-hmm.
Strong hands. Jared Verse. I guess my one knock against him was like sometimes I see unreal play from him. And then other times I'm like, damn, man, I want a little more. I just want more consistency from that great play I see from him. I the only one, though, I think is Jared Verse. I think he's the kind of full package here comparative to these other ones. I don't expect Latu to test well, although I do really like he's the one here that has the best pass rush plan and has the most moves just in his arsenal generally. Latu's amazing in that aspect. Really worrying, though, how that translates just the athletically. And then Verse, not an elite athlete, but good. People move when he hits them. And yeah, I don't know. I just think Jared Verse is my number one. What would you where do you kind of think here? Would you
I completely agree, man. Jared Verse is just I really like his play in the run game as well. One thing I've said about him that I really like, he has kind of a signature pass rush move coming in, which I really like. He uses that outside shoulder cross chop really well. So he's a player I'm just really excited. I think he's just going to come in hot into the league. Like, I think he's just going to be able to do things right away from his rookie year. Maybe he has a little bit lower of a ceiling. This might not be like a true yearly double-digit sack guy, but I think he's a guy that just offers you really solid play in the run game and really solid play in the pass rush game, where he's a pick where for what Denver needs on their defense, I honestly don't think I'd really hate it. I might be a little bit like, but I don't think I would absolutely hate the idea of Jared Verse coming off the board at 12 for Denver, just because of, again, like what we talk about them needing in their edge room when you talk about having Baron Browning, Nick Bonito, possibly Drew Sanders. Who knows what that'll end up being like next year, but like you don't have a lot of guys that are truly over 250 pounds. You can have them in on 3 downs. They can match up with tackles or truly match up with tight ends and kind of create a difference in the run game. Like, absolutely. They don't have a lot of those guys right now. No. So I think a pick like that is a complete possibility.
Yeah. And like I said about the tackles, I think Verse is, if you were to say which one would you put your chips on the table and say is still good 12 years down the line, it would be Jared Verse.
Yeah.
That's part of the evaluation there for me. So we're going to pretend like Olu is not a part of this, right?
Oh, wait, I'm fine to still take Olu. I just wanted to talk about the other time.
Let's take Olu then. Take Olu.
Olu is the new left tackle for the Denver Broncos, which means Garrett Bull's probably gone, which is fine. I didn't mean that in like a mean way.
It is fine.
But that's probably okay. Like,
okay, Frankie, you are in the all right here. Jalen Wright, running back. I don't think that's really much something the Broncos would go after.
Is there a position you want to start with talking?
Go wide receiver. Okay, we got Roman Wilson, Johnny Wilson.
Want to talk about Johnny Wilson top 100? Because I hate it.
Yeah, I'm down. Why do you hate it so much, Frankie?
I hate it so much because of the I guess I shouldn't say I hate it. I don't love it. Okay. I think Johnny Wilson is a guy that is going to have a pretty limited role. And I just, compared to the other guys, I think that you're going to be taking in the top 100. Like, I just don't think you're going to get the production or even the snaps out of Johnny Wilson that you are out of these other receivers. That's just my opinion. I like what Johnny Wilson does, but I like him way more in like the 4th round than I do in like the 3rd or the 2nd round. That's my opinion on it.
So I like him kind of in the 3rd round area, I would say. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I think the guy could work at outside wide receiver, and I think there is a path for him to even be a productive, just straight outside wide receiver if you needed him to be. That's kind of the curious part that I can't figure out. Like, I'm watching him, and I'm seeing a guy that is 6'6", 230 plus pounds. He's a mismatch out there against any cornerback in the league. And he gets open much better than you would expect a guy at his size. So, like, I guess why would you feel his role is limited? You don't like, is Jamari Thrash that much better of an outside wide receiver than Johnny Wilson to you? Or like, I think this is where I kind of get confused. Like, I think Johnny Wilson can make it operate out there as an X, as a Z. And I think he could start there potentially. Of course, I'm saying 3rd round, so it's not like all the way in. But I look at the rest of this list, and I don't feel any different about them. I'm not like, ooh, that guy is the guy. Like, I don't understand that whole aspect of the situation.
Me personally, I think that Malachi Corley and Roman Wilson are definitely at least a tier above what
Totally.
Johnny Wilson
And
brings
I would agree
on
there.
day one.
Totally.
I don't know, man. I need to see him kind of be what I think a lot of people are kind of putting on him to be at the next level before he kind of is that. I don't know.
I thought we saw it in college.
I'm not trying to say that he can't separate. I do think Johnny Wilson has some separating ability. I don't think that he is going to be like, I don't think he's going to do nothing. I think when we're talking about a possible top 100 pick, I think these need to be your true like difference, maybe not true difference makers, but guys you kind of expect to be difference makers. To me, a pick like Johnny Wilson is kind of a luxury pick.
Okay. All right.
Like, are you picking Johnny Wilson and having him be a top 3 receiver on your team? Like going into next season?
I think no, but I don't think
I think that's a problem.
Totally, but we're talking about a player ranked 90th. Like, okay, so let's move down the list here. Like, is Jake do we feel comfortable with Coing being a top 3 wide receiver on your roster? Do we feel comfortable with Thrash being a top 3 wide receiver on your roster? It's just like I can make this argument up and down the list, except for the guys that I expect to go above him, which is Malachi Corley, Roman Wilson, these type of wide receivers that have kind of established themselves as, okay, that's my role. Of course, Johnny Wilson is kind of a projection, but so is all these other guys. That's my problem there. Like, why is he more of a projection than Coing?
I think you're getting a little too honed in on these rankings, but I guess I just sit here saying if you have a top 100 pick, I would rather use it on a guy that I'm fairly confident in. And I guess, again, it's up to your offensive coordinator to have an idea and plan for how they're going to use this guy going forward. I have an easier time envisioning you getting quality production out of these other receivers because they have defined roles in every NFL offense than I do Johnny Wilson.
Fair enough. Let's move on to the next position here. Would you feel comfortable with any of these guys in the second round, by the way?
Second round or like at 76?
Oh, 76. My bad. Third round. So would you feel comfortable with Roman Wilson?
Totally. I would probably, I mean, again, I guess this is a very early, look at this. We don't know what the Broncos receiver room is going to look like. A lot of these guys are dependent on if they have Jerry Jeudy, because it seems like Jerry Jeudy right now is their slot guy. You bring in a Roman Wilson, who I think is going to be primarily playing out of that position. From what I saw, isn't the best at separating against press. You bring in a guy like Malachi Corley, who I don't know if he's really going to be a guy you're playing on. Like, I think he can survive on the outside, but I think he's kind of another guy that you're going to be using as kind of that move piece. That it depends upon what the receiver room is, but I think I would, just because they need weapons there. And I think for what we need in the Sean Payton offense, which is both explosive plays after the catch. I mean, I think the ability to have difference makers in the passing game in general. I think there are a couple of guys on the board right here. So, yeah, I wouldn't hate the idea of like a Roman Wilson or a Malachi Corley in Denver at 76.
Yeah, I thought Roman Wilson's Senior Bowl was terrific.
Yeah.
As well. That's something to point out there. I think he's a pretty easy evaluation, Roman Wilson. I wouldn't be mad at him.
Yeah.
Go to offensive tackle. No, we don't need offensive tackle again. We don't need offensive tackle.
Anything on the interior? I have heard good things about Cooper Beebe, but I've only seen a couple games because I don't have a lot of Kansas State games. Christian Mahogany supposedly had a really good week at the Shrine Bowl, but I haven't gotten to watch any of that yet. But Christian Mahogany supposedly had a good week there. Bo Limmer was a guy that we watched at the Senior Bowl, that you got to watch. I watched his film of at the Senior Bowl. But not, anyone there I really see.
I think I need to watch more Cooper. I hear great things from him.
I want to look at this safety class because safety is a very interesting position to me this year, just because, again, I think Justin Simmons is another guy that is a possible candidate to be moved. So if they end up having a hole there, I think it's
interesting.
Bo Brady is a guy that I've been kind of interested why he hasn't really flown up boards a bit more. He's another guy that had a quietly good Senior Bowl week. He had a pretty productive career at Maryland. He's a guy I like a good bit.
Okay.
Let's check out the edge class maybe. We could just look at the top. Trey Benson's really good, but I don't know. What do you think they're going to do? You think they just keep riding with the 3 they've got in the running back room right now?
Yes. I think maybe like a day 3 pick.
Okay.
Look at interior defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Dwayne Carter. Okay.
Leonard I don't Taylor. Really like Leonard Taylor. Ruka Roro is okay.
Leonard Taylor kind of, I need him to use his hands more, Doug. Okay. Go to corners.
I actually liked what DJ James did a good bit at the Senior Bowl. Max Melton, I think, might have to move to inside or play safety. Kyrie Jackson plays on the outside. I don't really love too much there.
Man, I feel like this is kind of a tough spot for the Broncos.
Would you consider, I mean, here's the thing. I know this would be kind of tough. Would you consider a guy like Peyton Wilson to team up with Drew Sanders to kind of have a really young inside linebacker core? I wouldn't personally love that, but I think that is a possibility here since, I mean, he's a prospect that I think is very honestly comparable to what Drew Sanders was coming out.
Absolutely. I think Peyton Watson here would just be, I mean, if you're looking at some of the best players, Peyton Wilson, my bad. I'm thinking of Peyton Watson on the Nuggets. Peyton Wilson here is one of the better players available. Honestly, I think, who would you take here? I know who I would take.
My choice is either between Trey Benson, I think would be a fun one, or I would go with Malachi Corley. How about you?
You go Corley over. I would go Roman Wilson.
Okay. I just like Corley because he comes in at already 215, so I have no concern about him being able to match the NFL physicality. Not that I'm too worried about that with Roman Wilson. I know Malachi Corley is going to come in, I think, and kind of kick a little bit of ass, and I think that Denver could use that. But that's just my opinion. You would go Roman Wilson?
I would. How do we settle this? Can you do a coin flipper on your website here? We'll go Corley versus Wilson. Do you want heads or tails?
You want heads or tails?
I'll take heads. Tails. All right, Corley it is.
Okay, here we go. Boom, Malachi Corley. That was good. We're problem solving in live time. All right, we're on to pick. Holy shit, we're on to pick 113. We've got two pretty close here.
All right, just go by all. Yeah, Kyrie Jackson's interesting if you're looking for a guy that runs fast, is really tall, and honestly, I thought he had a pretty good Senior Bowl. Kyrie Jackson is an interesting choice here, especially now that we're in the 113s.
Do you consider running back a need for the Broncos?
I think it's hard to draft this early. Is it a need? Yes.
We're at 113. We're in the fourth round.
Yeah, but who is this guy making the roster over?
I guess that's what. So is it a need for the Broncos? Do you think they're set in their running back room?
The Broncos won't realize it. That's my take. Yes, but the Broncos won't realize it. The Broncos won't realize it because P. Ryan is fine. I think he has a role. McLaughlin has a role. And what do we expect from Javonte Williams? That's the big answer here. That's honestly the big question.
It's too bad because which I'm fine with that. I am excited to see what Javonte can do as, again, having a full year removed from that gruesome injury is going to be massive for him. But it's too bad because, I'm looking at, I'm Mr. I don't really like running backs in the top 100. I'm kind of okay with it past that point. But, especially after the Senior Bowl week where we just watched some of these guys have been kind of diving more into this running back class. I don't mind this class. And there's a lot of guys, maybe not this pick, but when we talk about, they've got 3 picks in the next 50. They've got 113, 121, 149. The idea of adding a Ray Davis, who I think can play on all 3 downs. But Will Shipley's a really good receiving back. Braylon Allen is a young, explosive, huge back. Marshawn Lloyd had a really good week. Kamani Vidal is built really well. Cody Schrader's a guy I was hyping up a lot. Dylan Laub had a really good week. There's a decent group of guys where I'm sitting here saying, man, I wouldn't hate if Denver went out and kind of upgraded their running back room. When we talk about, I think that this team is trying to build an identity behind being a running team right now. So I personally wouldn't hate it, but I think I kind of agree where I think they
I just don't think they do.
That's exactly. I think they've invested too much. They've already got their 3 guys, unless they want to move off Samaje, which I've talked about as I think is kind of a possibility. I really like Samaje, but I almost wonder if they view kind of Javonte and Samaje in a bit of a similar path. As I've said, I think Javonte is kind of moving more towards being that reliable kind of short yardage runner and then also being a productive blocker on 3rd down that you can dump the ball off to a little bit and get some yak. I'm seeing that a little bit more than kind of being the dominant 3 down back. I think that we were kind of expecting his career to turn into. So I wonder if they see that and they just say, let's just keep this guy and let's see if we can upgrade the rest of the room.
I don't hate that take, Frankie. I mean, Samaji's usage was kind of crazy. When you start looking at, oh, wait, what? He was like a top 5 receiving back in NFL last year. Oh, wait, what? He was like a top 4 receiver on the Broncos this last year. Like just weird stuff. Oh, like he was winning them games on game-winning drives damn near. Like the role was like he's better at Javonte at one thing. I don't know. I don't know if they move off of him. I mean, ultimately we agree. It's just like yes, like I would sit here and look for a actual 3-down back though. Like I think Samaje's role is clear. I think McLaughlin's role is clear. It's Javonte's the one I'm questioning.
Yeah, Ray Davis would be an interesting name, but probably not doing receiver or running back then. What other? I mean, I really think they need to add some bias to the defensive line. Michael Hall is the guy that's kind of interesting. The only issue I see with Michael Hall, and it's interesting because he did a really good job of this at the Senior Bowl, but he's more of a interior pass rusher. He's not similar to Draymond Jones, but kind of like, I think that's kind of what you're going to imagine. You're really expecting him to kind of develop as a true get after the passer from the interior guy more than you're wanting a guy that's going to be an interior run stuffer. And Denver kind of needs more of the latter. So one guy I think that might be interesting here is Northern Iowa's Christian Boyd. He might kind of be a guy they can draft a little bit later, but he was a guy who had an incredible Shrine Bowl week. He was the MVP of the Shrine Bowl practices. I was constantly seeing him be disruptive. He's a bit of a bigger body. He plays at like 300 pounds, and he's just a bit more of that, I think, a bit more of that stout player in the interior. He's not like a nose, but he is a guy that I think can kind of play a bit of multiple spots for the Broncos, and I think kind of be a guy that can insert right away and not be as much of a liability. I really like Michael Hall. He shows a lot of explosiveness off the snap. He's really quick. He's got like a good build where he's like low to the ground, so he can get natural leverage on people, but he's just not necessarily, I think, the player that the Broncos necessarily need for their defensive line right now. Like, I really think they need just more guys that are better at absorbing blocks and not getting blown out of the lane. And right now, I think Michael Hall is kind of that. You are muted, Joey.
Absolutely, Frankie, is what I was saying. I think you nailed that. Thank you for letting me know, by the way. I haven't heard much about Christian Boyd, or I don't know much about Christian Boyd. So, hey, he's definitely on here.
Yeah.
As a guy. My guy from CSU, Muhammad Kamara. I don't think he's a player, man. You saw it in the CU game. If you watch the CU game at all, Muhammad Kamara is a player. Phillips here too from Kentucky had a really good Senior Bowl.
So he's an interesting player. He did have a very good Senior Bowl. Him and Cam Hart was another guy I saw. Like, they were both just competing every single day. We talked about how good Kenyon Mitchell was. These other guys were really good as well. The thing about Andrew Phillips too is he looks like an athlete. Like, he moves out there. So I'd be pretty interested in that one. But I mean, we've talked about this so much. Like, they already have so much invested into the secondary that, like, I mean, here I would be fine because it's obviously a 4th round pick. But I mean, I'd really like them to give some of these other guys the chance to play. You really want to get to see Riley Moss this year. You really want to get to see, I think, some of the pieces they've invested in the secondary. I'd like to get to see some JL Skinner, or maybe some, maybe they think DTY is ready to actually play some snaps after being, just kind of thrown into not even the fire, like burning inferno, which was the Dolphins game. Like,
all right.
I'd be interested to get to see some of these younger guys they've already invested these day 3 picks on get the chance to play before they just decide, like, we're done with you before we even really got to see you. Let's draft some more guys. But I wouldn't hate if they ended up saying, we need to upgrade outside corner. I don't think Damari Mathis is a lock to make the roster this year. But I'd also say that while I say that, I also don't think we should count out Damari Mathis. He is still, 24-year-old corner, very athletic. He's only been in the league for like 2-3 years now. There have been flashes of good with the bad, obviously once he kind of gets in his own head, he starts to kind of crumble. But this is a young player that, again, did have draft pedigree coming out. And I think if ended up, being a solid 4th corner for the Broncos next year, we shouldn't be blown away at all because, again, we need to kind of have patience with a lot of these young guys. So I've been kind of thinking that a lot too, where like, I think there's going to be a lot of people that kind of forget about Damari Mathis for next year. And I'm not saying you shouldn't, because there is a decent chance he doesn't make the roster, but I think there's probably equal, if not greater of a chance that they say, hey, this is still a young, cheap, very athletic corner that has played some decent ball for us. let's just roll with him instead of, burning another asset and just kind of kicking this guy to the curb.
I'm not mad at it. I mean, I'm not mad at that take at all, just because Darn, you know what none of these other guys that we're currently looking at cornerback have is that they've seen zero success in the NFL, and Damari Mathis has.
Yeah.
That's kind of the difference there. Damari Mathis looked good at one point, to the point where the Broncos didn't think they needed to invest, or that he had kind of had a right away to being the starting cornerback this year. Obviously, that didn't pan out. It didn't look good, but it's something he has over all these guys. He has NFL experience, and he's seen success in the NFL. Am I betting on that at this point? No, but that's why the Broncos put a third-round pick into Riley Moss last year. Yeah. That's kind of the issue. Like we have too little investments there that I want to see more of. So, hey, you know what, Broncos, show us more of them. That's something that I want to see.
And then the other part I will say about the corner position too, that I guess is something to keep in mind, is they don't need a nickel. It wouldn't be, I guess, the worst idea to just invest in guys that kind of have the ability to play inside outside, but we've seen enough. I think I've seen /enough out of Jaquan McMillian that that's their starting nickel for the next 3 years. They have a good borderline Pro Bowl caliber nickel corner, slot corner for the next 3 years at a very cheap price, which is just incredible for the Broncos. But that's another thing to keep in mind with all these Broncos on the board. Any other positions? I clicked on safety. Possible quarterbacks here. Do you have any interest in maybe taking like a day 3 Spencer Rattler, Joe Milton?
No, none of these other guys but Rattler.
I want to go on a little funny thing because it's really funny to me that I don't want to say I hyped up Joe Milton, but I tried to play the whole who knows, Joe Milton does have the NFL size, and no disrespect to Joe Milton. Joe Milton had some ugly Senior Bowl plays, brother. Oh my God. So bad. During the game, oh my God. Joe Milton really struggled out there. But so he is off my list. But you'd consider Rattler?
Maybe a pick later.
Okay.
I want to watch more. You kind of have me hyped on, Frankie. Wait, did we look at interior offensive line, by the way?
We did a little bit.
There are some guys on here.
This guy who we really liked at the Senior Bowl, Charles Turner, is really low on there. You got anyone in the tackle class?
I was hoping my boy Chris.
Honestly, we already took a tackle in this, but a guy I would consider here. They have Isaiah Adams at tackle. You got to fix that, PFF. He's going to play guard. He didn't take a single tackle snap at the Senior Bowl.
He was very open. He was very open about, hey, I'm a guard too.
Good, really. That's awesome to hear because he's a guard.
When I interviewed him at the Senior Bowl, he was very open about that. I asked him what position he thinks he is best at, and he was like, "It's guard."
Yeah,
it's guard. I'm a better guard than I am a tackle, and that's what I'll be playing in the NFL.
That's awesome.
So yeah, Isaiah Adams. I'm just confused. I haven't watched some of these guys. To be quite frank with everybody, I haven't watched some of these guys, so where they stack up is kind of confusing just in this whole list. Just off of the best players I've watched, Isaiah Adams would be up there. I was hoping my boy Christian Haynes would still be on here at this point. He's a baller on the interior of the offensive line. Where did he go?
I'll scroll. You keep talking.
Christian Haynes is a guy. And then Frankie, I'm really interested. He must still be available. I'm really interested in that defensive tackle you were talking about.
He went to the Eagles. That's hilarious.
54. Damn. Okay.
I'm sorry, you said defensive tackle?
I'm really interested in that defensive tackle from Northern Iowa you're talking about.
For sure. I do want to mention a couple things from here, just because it is interesting because we went to tackle at 9. For anyone who missed, we took Olu Fashanu at 9. But this is probably something to keep in mind. With how deep this tackle class is and this receiver class is, again, Olu was obviously a blue chip prospect, but the idea of Christian Jones, who just had one of the best Senior Bowl weeks. Javon Foster is a pretty good zone blocking offensive tackle. I've really liked what I've seen.
Roger right here from Washington.
There he is. Roger Rosengarten, who in my opinion is a top 100 pick. I think PFF has him way too low right here. This is truly in my mind, going to come in and probably be a startable option at right tackle in a lot of zone schemes, which is half the league now, and just probably be there for the next 8 years. Tape is really good at Washington, went into the Senior Bowl, had a really good week at the Senior Bowl. He looks explosive. He looks the part. There's a lot of options here where if Denver doesn't necessarily want to go at a premium pick at tackle, which, again, you want to go BPA, but, say they don't necessarily need to make the move. Maybe they restructure bowls. Maybe they're able to keep that tackle core in place. There are options where they can kind of still get guys. So I'm begging you, George, if you're watching this, or Sean, please draft a tackle this year. There are so many good tackles. The offensive line class this year is absurd. I will be so sad if another year goes by where they don't end up taking another one of these young quality guys, because they have such an expensive tackle room right now, and there's so many just good young players. Anything else on the interior I wanted to point out?
Your guy Kingsley from Florida.
Kingsley is there. I don't know if I'd be okay with him here. I guess, like, it's kind of funny. I was watching him. He really does kind of remind me a lot of Lloyd coming out of LSU. Like, he has a lot of the same issues.
I watched 2 games on Kingsley, and I thought the exact same thing. I was like, yeah.
Lacks the punch, but he can move well. He's pretty quick off the snap. Seems smart dealing with stunts and stuff. Breaks it down well. Did struggle a little bit with injury, but I mean, really good hand plays. Really good hand usage, and just, I mean, he's a guy I liked a lot. Another guy that had a really good Senior Bowl week.
Who's your favorite of these interior offensive linemen, Frankie?
Of all the guys left, it's probably Isaiah Adams.
That's what I was thinking too. So I'm between Isaiah Adams and then your defensive tackle you were talking about. And I haven't watched him, but from your description there, I liked the fit because it's kind of what the Broncos need.
Yeah. I will say Tyler Davis is another name here that's kind of considerable, but I'm not the biggest Tyler Davis guy. So yeah, let's go Christian Boyd.
Okay, Christian Boyd it is.
And we're back on the clock.
All right. Now I think let's go back to interior offensive linemen. Let's see if we can double down.
Who do you think? Who do you have more faith in this year? Alex Forsyth? Oh my God, I'm forgetting the other guy's name. Who's the other day 3 pick at center from 2 years ago?
Wattenberg.
Wattenberg. Who would you have more faith starting next year? Forsyth or Wattenberg?
I think Forsyth came out as the better technician than Wattenberg.
Okay.
Which is kind of what I'd be looking for from a starter. Go back to, is Isaiah Adams still available?
Yeah, it's right there. Or Christian Jones.
Yeah, but I kind of want my guy to be a guard here. No, yeah, I do.
Here's what I'm saying, Joey. I didn't even think of it. I actually kind of have liked the idea. So where are you on Greg Dulcich?
I'm not on the screen for Greg Dulcich right now.
Do you like?
I like my guy Dallin Holker too, by the way.
Because I was gonna say I think Denver, needs a true difference maker in the receiving game from the tight end position. So I might not hate the idea of getting a guy like Theo Johnson, who we talk about as this 6'6", 260 true difference maker in the receiving game. He's going to test fast. The idea of adding him to a tight end room that I think right now you don't really know who's going to be in it. Troutman's a free agent. I think Manhurts is a free agent as well. Greg Dulcich, again, I want to give him benefit of the doubt because this is another young player. I have I've been kind of trying to come around on it. Like, man, I don't want to just completely be like, throw away Greg Dulcich. He's already been hurt too much. It does feel that way a little bit, but it is also like he's one of those positions that takes a long time. He's going into his 3rd year. Maybe this is the year he becomes a true difference maker and is able to stay healthy, but I do think it is probably smart to plan for the chance that he does miss time. And in that case, I honestly don't hate the idea. AJ Barner is probably more of your do-it-all, but of adding a guy like a Theo Johnson or maybe a Jaheim Bell. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I'm not sold on Bell. I think he's fun. I think Theo Johnson more than Bell, though. Okay. Bell, to me, I just don't see the size at all. I don't think he's even he's strictly, if you're playing in the NFL, you're more of a slot.
Okay.
Than you are anywhere near tight end. I don't see the size. I think that really limits him. He's just not big enough. Yeah. I mean, I think ultimately Johnny Wilson would have a better shot at playing inline blocking than I would say Jaheim Bell does.
Okay. But Theo Johnson, you're against the idea of a Theo Johnson.
I'm not against it. I'm not against it just because the Broncos don't have their guy there. Like you said, I'm not out on Greg Dulcich, but they don't have their guy. Simply at right now, you can't bet on Greg Dulcich being your guy with the injuries. I think Marcus from Georgia here, this is a guy that feels right up Sean Payton's alley with his ability to block. I think he's one of the better blocking wide receivers in this entire class.
Good size.
Yeah. He didn't really impress me at the Senior Bowl, though. I'll be honest with you. I'm not sold on his ability to separate, but as a guy, I could see Sean Payton like. I still think Muhammad Kamara here, the edge rusher, is he ideal size? No, he isn't. He isn't, but he's a really good pass rusher and a guy that I wouldn't like to see added to this group either.
My vote is going to be for Bo Brady.
For who?
The safety out of Maryland, Bo Brady. I think he could. He's probably my second favorite safety right now.
Okay.
I really think he just has such a nose for the football. Like, he's a guy I like so much, and he was the top safety for, I think, the national team this week at the Senior Bowl. He's a guy I've been really impressed with. I think Denver is probably going to have they just do have a need at safety right now. I think Locke is a free agent. Justin Simmons is one of the more movable pieces depending upon what ends up happening with the Russ contract situation. Obviously, Kareem is no longer on the team. Caden Stearns, you're hoping is going to be able to play a lot, but he's kind of in a similar boat to Dulcich, where it's like, do you want to put all your eggs into that basket? So I wouldn't hate the idea of going young at safety, kind of investing a pick in Bo Brady here. I think that would be a really solid selection. I think he might offer some special teams versatility on year one as well. So he would be my pick.
This pick is screaming George Payton as well. We're about and pick 121. DB seems right up his alley. Right. I would say I would want to take my Isaiah Adams.
Okay. Oh, I thought we already did.
Another coin flip.
Oh no, you're right. We didn't take Isaiah Adams. We're coin flipping. Heads or tails?
Tails. God damn it, Frankie. Okay, Bo Brady it is. It's the Frankie Films mock draft over here. For the love of God, man.
I rigged this whole thing. All right, we're on 149 now. We're flying. Here we got at the top.
Javon Foster, we mentioned him earlier.
Mm-hmm. I also like Cedric Gray as a coverage linebacker. Jordan Jefferson has some decent tape. Shao Smith-Wade is actually another guy at the Senior Bowl who had a really good week. I've said Senior Bowl 40 times this episode, and I'm going to keep saying it. Cole Bishop is another guy that had a really good Senior Bowl week. He's really good at covering tight ends, but we did just kind of do that with our other safety pick. Isaiah Adams is still right there.
Let's take him, Frankie. Can we just take Isaiah?
We'll just do it quick. Boom. This isn't a tackle. This is a guard. This could be your Ben Powers replacement. He literally plays on the left side. Good size, good physicality, good feet. Just guy I like a lot. Had to move to the right side this year, so he does, I guess, technically have that versatility if we end up going down and need a guy to play in a cinch, but that's not his best spot. And, what were you going to say?
Frankie, you know what I liked about him? He had to come in and play a tackle in a pinch. That wasn't something that he was supposed to do when he held up at Illinois, I really like Isaiah Adams, and I think he's a cool guy too. From when I talked to him. Now this is the fun part of the draft where I want to look at running back.
And they're all gone.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I don't know any of these guys. I don't have any Monmouth film.
We got 2 picks left. Proctor was a guy who had a decent week. I still like Rosengarten, but we probably don't need to add another offensive lineman. Nathaniel Watson, I honestly do like. He wouldn't be a horrible pick. Tim Smith's a guy I've seen some tape of.
I only know the interior offensive lineman.
Gabe
Hall.
Gabe Hall. Boom.
Gabe Hall is a bang. Okay, we already took him.
I just did.
Hall is a guy I interviewed 3 interior offensive linemen at the Senior Bowl, and 2 of them said Gabe Hall was the toughest to block.
Yeah,
the length noticeable. The film very different though. That's something to be noticed. And I don't think he'll be here in real life when we start getting here. But the film very different than the actual player we saw at the Senior Bowl because he was almost unblockable. Gabe Hall was a player down there.
Yeah, completely agree. Gabe Hall is really good size. He's like 6'5", and he's at 300 pounds, which is really nice. Brings a lot of length, brings a lot of explosiveness off the snap. So he's a guy I like a lot. He would be a really good addition to have along this defensive front that really needs dudes. And then what are we thinking for our final pick here? I think
go to wide receiver. Okay.
There's Nesbitt.
Nesbitt's there. Damn, they don't even have many players left.
Yeah, right. DeAndre Hunter's a guy I've seen decent things out of.
Can I actually mention something real quick? This is something Jim Nagy said. He said once you start getting closer to the lower end, something that NIL and everything in college football is changing. The day 3 picks of this NFL draft are kind of wiped out. Like just with everything going on, like it is a deep class through the middle rounds, but once you start getting to the end here, it's kind of tough. Tory Taylor, what do you know about him, Frankie?
Tory Taylor has been incredible at Iowa. I saw him have an incredible punt at the Senior Bowl as well. I did watch some special teams tape. I had to. And so I would unironically probably take Tory Taylor because he's the guy I know the best and like the best here.
If I get 3 1s in the comment, we'll draft Tory Taylor. If not, let's look at other positions.
Oh my! Wait. We already looked at like everybody else.
I want 3 1s in the chat. If you guys want a punter, let me know. Otherwise, I'm taking a random. Go to quarterback.
You want Keegan Slovis?
Go to quarterback.
You want Talia, who I think is going back, right? Or did he apply to go back?
No. He applied and he couldn't.
You want Keegan Slovis?
Brother. I don't want Slovis.
This is disgusting.
I don't even want this pick, Frankie. This is what I was telling you.
Wait, you don't want the pick, but I can't take the punter? What is this?
I don't even want this pick. This is exactly what I was
Miles Cole. Miles Cole.
You started yelling at me.
I'm taking Miles Cole.
Okay. A lot of talent here for Miles Cole. Literally no pass rush plan. Literally none.
I'm taking Nathaniel Watson.
Okay, take Nathaniel Watson.
Boom. Because I actually do like Nathaniel Watson. Really good length at the linebacker position.
One in the comments. Let it be known.
BFF thinks our draft was mids.
I'm not loving it. Are you loving it?
I do like this draft. What?
I love Olu. Okay. No, this is a really good draft.
This is the foundational draft. Oh, you hate it. I can see it on your face that you hate it. Let me remove
No, I
this.
don't. Wait, go back to it. I don't hate it. You know what we did, Frankie? We attacked the trenches.
Yes.
I love it. We got Olu, Christian Boyd, Isaiah Adams, Gabe Hall, Nathaniel Watson.
This draft is like you don't have to put the guys that were like the 4th and 5th defensive linemen in Denver last year, maybe the 5th and 6th. They don't have to play anymore, or they don't have to play as many snaps anymore. The guys we had playing 600 snaps last year that deserved like 200 snaps, now that can go to these guys who are actually decent and have potential and have good size. We're going to stop the run, damn it.
Frankie, I'm blaming you for our B- grade here. They hated Christian Boyd.
That's because they didn't watch the Shrine Bowl tape. That's because they didn't watch the Shrine Bowl tape.
They hated him. They gave him the D. What the hell?
I'm print screening this. We got it. Boom.
All right. Let us know, guys. What do you guys think of our mock draft here? If you hate it, I'm cool with you guys letting us know if you hate it. If you love it, that'd be nice too. I always appreciate positive comments in the chat as well. I know how these mock drafts things go. Like everyone always loves them. Everyone always is like, wow, this is an amazing mock draft. You see that on Twitter all the time.
Yeah, people are usually pretty hyped.
Yeah.
Very friendly on the internet.
Very, very friendly. They love it. But yeah, guys, let us know. I'm going to screenshot this, put this out on the timeline. Follow Frankie at Frankie Films. Follow me at JR Drafts. We are here every single Thursday. If you guys like NFL Draft, we're here for you. We love it. But until next time, guys, go Broncos.